Good afternoon, everybody. This is Leo with OrderFlow Labs, and we've got AJ. We're going to go through a little bit about what happened today as far as the open, and then look for some trades to take for the next couple hours and answer questions, Q&A, and just kind of keep this light. AJ's got a mic issue, so we are going to just hang out until he's able to join. Can somebody in the chat just confirm my mic is good? Technology's hard. Chat. Oh, and now I have a new way. We're learning things. This is our 4th time doing this. And we're learning things like, hey, Wes, thank you, how to do this better. So hopefully each time we go live, we figure out some new stuff and it's easier for us to do things, and that makes it better for everybody. So appreciate everybody for joining us in this journey as we take some trades, talk about markets, go on some rants, go over some Q&A. I'm getting the streaming chart book a little more in line with what my personal chart book looks like. So just trying to get that in order. For those that don't know, or if you've never heard of OrderFlow Labs before, we just put out a new volume by price study that we actually wrote ourselves, and it has some new features, so maybe we can go over that today a little bit. You can see right here a little bit about what's going on. Hey, AJ's here.
There we go.
Hey. All right.
I don't know what was going on there.
And if everybody can just confirm they could hear AJ, just so that I can make sure I'm set up correctly, that'd be great. The 5-minute NQ on IB, 5-minute OR. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. So anyways, I was saying that the volume profile that we just put out there, you can see on the Delta profile here, that's one of the components of it, allows you to filter by Delta. And so what you can see is that you can really pinpoint those high Delta zones because you could put a threshold on the actual Delta profile. So like I could change it right now and remove, currently I'm my threshold is 50. So when I remove it, you can see every single piece of Delta, right? And, some of that's noise, right? 2 or 20 lots of Delta difference at any certain price. It's not that important. And so this allows you to filter that out and visually, eliminate that. And it actually allows you to color those filtered bars from a volume standpoint a different color. That's not something that Sierra can do today. So we are happy this is out there and something I've been pushing for a long time. So anyways, now that AJ's here, we can talk about what happened this morning at the open and look for some trades to set up. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Sure. You can flip over to my screen.
All right. I'm on your screen.
So I only took one trade in my main account this morning, and it was a short right here around 8:58. There's feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. How about now?
You're good.
Okay. So I took this short around 8:58, and I took a half size, and I was immediately stopped out. And that was the only trade that I took in my main account. So there's really not much to review trade-wise for me. The one trade that that I would have taken, I would have been open to taking a long.
Cut out. Oh, AJ may have lost connection. Well, we have some technical difficulties, and that's okay. Oh, he said he lost power. Okay. AJ's out of power, so you're stuck with me for now, is what it is. All right, so why don't I give you my take, since we were going to wait for AJ on that, but I'm going to pull over this bad boy. This is one of my higher time frame looks, and recently I've been messing around a little bit since we have this new study also includes some VWAP stuff. So basically this is a TPO where the VWAP bands, or the VWAP and the band for the VWAP, are anchored to the start of the balance area. So just trying to give a frame of reference when we're in balance, where some of those extremes are. Obviously the 2 standard deviation is an extreme, and it actually lines up with the balance area high at this point, so that's kind of neat. And then inside this shaded area is the 1 standard deviation +1 and -1 down here. So that's what you're seeing if I haven't shown this yet, so that's why you're seeing this. But yeah, I mean, we had some weakness at the open, and not surprisingly found a responsive bid here at prior month high, where the single prints were yesterday, and the week open, it's the G line marked on my chart here. And also, this was previous resistance if we go look back over here. And so we kind of built some, volume and acceptance above it. And so not surprised to see that bounce. Unfortunately, I didn't get to take a trade there because I was setting up some final stuff with the stream as we're trying to perfect that. But yeah, pretty much the same look on the 30-minute chart. This has the volume profiles for each RTH session. And then this is new for me as well. So this is a leg-to-leg profile that's a larger time frame, so you can see the LVNs on the actual leg. And so if I go to this and show you this, there's an outline here, and that outline is what this leg to leg profile is being drawn from. So it's from this high, and it's drawn all the way to this low currently. So right now, we're in the high volume node on the leg to leg, and we're in a high volume node in the balance area as well. So probably a reason we're seeing a bit of chop here, today. We have this distribution from overnight, and yeah, it's pretty much what we saw today as far as the opening auction goes. Very aggressive bid out of here. This is a scenario where if you've followed me in that 5-minute OR mid test, this is another scenario where I would not take this trade because of the velocity of this move out from a logical point. For me, the setup usually is better when it's like we get a down move right here, and say we pause right here and then came back. Definitely looking for that to be reoffered. And that's a trade that I would be more interested in. But when we make a pretty large liquidation like this and then immediately V-shape out, it's just less, it has less a probability for me to work out, just because of the context being, we potentially have some good excess. And we actually had the same scenario last week when we got on stream, where we had a morning liquidation, came right back to the opening range, and that OR mid trade did work, but again, I didn't take it either. So I always try to, keep in context where we could have potential excess, and that's this large, basically just a large wick on a 30-minute profile. And you probably can't see it on this chart, but that's something that I think everybody every trader is looking for when they're looking for a good low is, you know, a really strong move out. And so if we make a great low, then I want to be a little bit cautious on that specific area for a short. Doesn't mean, you know, this prior day close resistance here isn't a great short, or doesn't mean somewhere up higher isn't a great short, but back in when we're bidding right through the opening range, you know, I'm just less. I want, if I'm looking, if I want to get short, I want to wait for at least a pause, and we can see like just in the delta map as well that the you know, we just went straight through there. There was no resistance. There was really no selling into that, and so that's the piece from, you know, I use OrderFlow for execution, and so I have a setup. One, kind of less interested to take it because of that large wick, and then two, when you look at it from an order flow standpoint, there was no reason to take the trade anyway. So that's all I'm gonna say about that in my Forrest Gump preference. All right, so nobody's chatting, so make sure you ask questions. Otherwise, I'm just gonna ramble on about whatever I feel like. Yeah, so right now, as far as a trade opportunity, I would be looking for somewhere in this range to be rebid potentially for like a long. Not really sure I have a great short setup. I think up here was good. AJ's back. Fantastic.
I'm getting there.
He's getting there. Anyways, we have kind of walked through, AJ, just like a little bit about like this violent move out of, you know, not a violent move down, but kind of a violent move up right into yesterday's close, and now we've got resistance from there that you can see clearly. Just sellers just kind of dominated the tape.
Right. Definitely bit of an open test drive kind of look.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yep. And so that's probably the reason that I'd be more interested in looking for a spot down here to get rebid. And I mean, honestly, that could happen kind of anywhere in this zone. There's not a great spot on the LVN unless you're looking all the way down into the 68s. And I think when you start to get down there, you're getting a little too close to the low. But we'll see what happens. I'm not overly optimistic that we get something to set up, but, you know, I'm not going to let that overcloud any potential opportunity.
Yeah. I think the thing that is tricky for me is that, you know, I would have loved to catch some of this move up in ES, but by the time like NQ was still, by the time the ES had that kind of look where maybe we were going to get this push above the 5-minute high towards the you know, the previous day high where we made this IB, NQ was still underneath its overnight low, underneath its 5-minute mid, so I thought it was still going to be a pretty decent reoffer opportunity. So I thought like NQ, and this is what I was kind of getting at before, I never got a piece of this leg because by the time I wanted to buy it in ES, NQ still looked like a good short. And I just, once NQ looked like a decent, like it was going to maybe get some decent expansion above its, you know, 5-minute high, ES is up here kind of, you know, we're getting some absorption. We now have a poor high. So I'm a little, you know, indecisive right now. I haven't really gotten any trades off. Let me get my OBS going so we can look at my screen. I made a bunch of changes to OBS for this stream, and of course, since I lost power, none of that's saved. So you guys are just gonna have to deal with what I can put up right now.
Somebody asked what the VWAP here was, and that's from the leg-to-leg profile from the OFL volume by price. and it's anchored to the most recent swing high.
All right, you should be able to pull my stuff in.
So Wes, that's how that. So this this delta profile is set to leg, and I'm using 40 points for NQ currently. So when we get a 40-point counter rotation, then it would start to draw this profile from this new swing. So earlier it was from anchored here. When we started to make this push, it re-anchored the volume profile here. So we can kind of follow the most recent activity.
Give me 1 second, Leo. I should have this up. Look, tell me, let me know if that looks good in the control room.
Well, we're about to find out. We're about to find out. Sorry for the pause. I gotta fix AJ's. The link to AJ.
You know, NQ's got a much kind of cleaner profile here, right? You have this fat distribution between its 5-minute high and its IB high. And, you know, the volume's a little bit thinner under that. You have this really nice LVN here at 610. As you can see.
Can I share your screen yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, for some reason I didn't come over. Hang on. Alrighty, AJ's back. We got your screen now.
Okay. It actually looks black on YouTube. Oh,
don't worry.
Hold on.
It's coming.
Okay, you can see it?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah. So what I'm kind of looking at here and why I've got some uncertainty here in ES is the look of this RTH profile. Obviously we've got a larger distribution up here, and we've got a couple like builds these builds were actually not necessarily created on the way up. They were, if we look at the leg to leg profile, here we'll do a leg to leg profile, this leg down. So you see these builds here that are on the RTH profile, like all these ones were on this push down. So I don't necessarily look at these as right now great kind of launching points for a rebid. Just the way that we're setting up right now, right? We have the open drive down. We kind of came into this 460s and bid right out of it, made this high. I could see it going both ways at the moment, and I don't love the structure that I have to lean on right now, right? I guess if I really wanted to, like rebidding this 5-minute high right here, right where it's actually kind of setting up pretty good, but I'm simply wasn't prepared for dealing with technical issues. I think this is a sequence that we like to see, right? You have this red bubble, which is a delta map exhaustion signal. So as we came into this 5-minute high, what that means is that there was a high burst of bid delta, which sometimes means that it could signal the end of a rotation.
Hey, real quick, your screen's frozen.
Perfect.
Somebody mentioned it in the chat. I'm like, yeah.
It's if I look in the control center, it's live.
All right.
And it's not frozen on my Sierra chart either.
Don't worry, we're professionals. We know what we're doing.
I do see that it is certainly frozen on YouTube.
I don't know why though.
Yeah, it looks good in OBS. It looks good in the control room, and my chart is indeed moving. Well, I'll go while Leo's looking through this. I will talk to all of you who have live data on your charts. So,
Super
right,
weird.
essentially, we've got we had an exhaustive signal followed by the delta flip, which is basically saying that over the last few, last look back period, we're going from bid dominant activity to ask dominant activity. So when you see that exhaustion signal followed by that delta flip, that's something that we all really like to see for a change of rotation, and in this case, it would be change of rotation to the upside. And considering that it's happening at a really logical spot, the 5 minute high, I think that would have, if I was not getting this stuff set back up, that may have been a trade I would have taken. And my target would have been for a first take profit. It would have been 77 in ES, and then maybe a look at the IB high. How you doing over there, big guy?
Yeah, we're having a major meltdown here.
Hey, we could just look at NQ, and I can. Someone else. Wes gets it. Wes gets it. We have some tech problems. Should I leave that control room and then come back and try?
Maybe try that. Yeah, sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my charts have not frozen. My OBS looks like it's fine. Let's see. I'm gonna just restart everything here. Start virtual camera.
Well, we're not doing very good today, folks.
You know what? People,
it's one of those days.
People think that the YouTube streamer life is an easy one, and let me tell you, it's not as simple as it looks.
Wes, I understand, because I'm guessing that you're just figuring out Sierra chart, and I remember my first time using Sierra chart, and I wanted to throw not only myself off of the roof of my house, but also my computer. So I understand. It's worth the pain.
Why don't you give that a look?
All right.
I think the thing that's most impressive to me while Leo fixes this is not that we're having technical issues. It's that I've had almost every technical issue you could have, right? I had the mic issue to start, straight up lost power, and now the video's not working. We're really checking every single box here.
And we are... I'm just going to set up.
If this doesn't work, we could just stick with AQ, because that's the market you like anyway. You don't like to look at ES. Yeah, Leo's streaming in too high of a resolution for my computer to handle, apparently.
Yeah, like your feed's not even coming through.
Perfect. Well, I don't know what it could be because it says that we're in this room. Maybe it's because I've left too many times. It doesn't want me to, but it looks like my feed is live on.
All right. Well, we're not going to sweat it.
Yeah.
4K stream. We're not going to sweat it. Apologies for that. So we're not going to see AJ's screen. So if he takes a trade, we're just going to fade whatever that trade is and talk trash about him. And yeah, I think that's the best way to move forward. That's funny, Wes. Wes, I feel your pain, brother. All right, so we are getting a bid out of the basically 5 minute low. I wasn't looking for this trade, so I'm gonna miss it for now.
Mm,
I didn't.
I can
I
see.
was
I'm just
obviously we weren't
looking.
paying attention there too because there's that little OVN. I guess I missed that earlier, but I mean even there wasn't. I don't know if the leg, obviously changes like right here on the leg to leg profile. So there may have been there. Obviously there was a ton of delta in here because of that the way that delta map's colored.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking at NQ, like your chart right now. I wonder if maybe kind of a test of that 5 minute high would be an interesting spot. But
Yeah,
NQ's got value all the way. It's
I think it.
developed values all the way up to the 80s there.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to wait for a better spot. I don't have a great short entry or area. Um, Even looking like up until 700, where this low volume node is on the leg to leg. Just above, I think like right around prior week high might be a decent spot to look. So yeah, basically that would be a stop run of the initial bounce high, and then come back into range. That wouldn't surprise me that much based on the amount of earnings activity coming out after the bell. Just kind of not assuming that the day's going to be balanced, but just looking at it from that context of balance, play the edges of the profile until proven otherwise kind of deal. We're getting lots of offer delta right here at 24 BWAP and the 5 minute OR high. This could be an okay short actually based on the order flow here, but
Have we talked? Does I'm assuming NQ doesn't have the same poor high that ES does, right?
no, not really.
Mm. So for those of you who've never heard me complain about this, poor highs drive me nuts. I like to see a nice little taper, right? Like either like I want to see kind of like excess, right? That's kind of the market profile concept that's kind of outlined in all the literature. Excess makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and so when I see a poor high, I don't want to say that it gets me biased, but I always want that to be, I guess, cleaned up could be the phrase that you use. So when I see like and we see poor highs and lows, they hold just as often, like they hold for the session all the time. Eventually we usually like trade back to them, but it could be days, weeks, even months before it happens. But when I do see one intraday, I'm always kind of looking to see if we're going to start trading back to it and having that kind of taken out. And I'll only bring that up because, the setup that I was trying to talk about earlier, that 5 minute high rebid with the Delta map bubble and flip, we're kind of now, it's playing out kind of exactly as I was trying to explain, which you all were not able to see. And we're now coming back in, we're coming back towards the IB high and that poor high. So I'm curious to see, one of the things that I try to, as much as I don't like them, if we kind of come up to this high again here and we don't take that poor high out and, sellers step in and we get another move down, I get really hesitant to buy, to look for longs. Because, and this is not some market profile rule. This is just like personal observation. Like it's like an anecdotal thing. If a price is defended so hard to the tick that a poor high or poor low is defended multiple times and we just can't even look above it, to me, it's like, I don't overthink this stuff, but it just means that someone is like drawing a line in the sand, right? Like you will not pass 83 here. I'm not saying that that's what's about to happen. It looks like it might get poked. But when I see that, and when I see these poor highs and lows hold after being created, my interpretation is, all right, that's a seller or sellers that really have a level to hold one reason or another, and I'm not looking to fight them. I want it to be cleaned up, but if it doesn't, that's like a clue that I'll carry forward. But yeah, maybe NQ doesn't seem to have the same look.
Sorry, I was DMing with somebody. I didn't listen to a word you said, but I assume it was good.
I was complaining about poor highs.
Oh, I love poor highs. AJ hates them. He can't stand the poor highs. See, for me, if we have potential poor high, what does that mean? What's going to happen when we have a poor high, AJ?
Well, what I said, when we have a poor high and if it holds, it probably means that there's a seller. That really means business up there.
Or it's exhaustion. So the price is going to go down.
Right.
And I like prices going down. I like to be short the market.
So it's funny you say that it's exhaustion. So NES has come, right, a point 4 ticks short of its poor high and put in a delta map bubble, an exhaustive bubble. So basically exactly what Leo is talking about that he loves is playing out. So we're still hanging out up here. It may very well get another push, but I wish I could show you my chart because everything that we're kind of talking about is potentially playing out as we speak through it.
Leo, you mentioned a few months ago on X working on a full-blown Sierra tutorial. Is that still in the works? Yes. It is still in the works.
Nothing more to add there?
Nothing more to add.
So I may have lost power while you were talking about it. Are you looking for anything in NQ right now, or it's like we're kind of trading at this distribution?
I don't know. We're just kind of not in an area that I'm interested in. Somebody called me out. That's the DM that I was referring to, because he said, "Hey, this LVN here at 08 to 20 looked like a decent spot." Or maybe 610. Yeah, right in here. This little LVN at the developing value area low looked like a decent spot, and I agree. I missed it. I was too flustered. AJ's voice was down, then his power went out, and I was just trying to fill the space because I hate talking to myself. And we actually have a liquidity zone that formed right at that spot, so obviously there was tons of delta that came in there, and not able to see that in real time. So I missed that clear as day, and there's no excuse. I'm, just kidding. If you miss a trade, you just kind of go, I missed it. But yeah, this little LVN notch is a great area, and we can see we had absorption there. That's what created this liquidity zone, and now we're selling off of AJ's poor high NES, and Q's reflecting that.
You want me to send you a screenshot of what ES looks like?
Please.
It's like a perfect illustration. And I'm sweating profusely, one, from hustling to get my computer back on, and also out of just stress of seeing this poor high not get taken out. Hold on, guys. I'm going to do this here. We don't have another technical issue. I'm just going to get my snipping tool up. I mean, what a day to not have my charts up. So we actually now have it. I was talking about how the exhaustion bubble delta flip out of that high, out of the 5-minute high, is a great long signal. We now have the exhaustion I sent you that screenshot.
Oh man.
We now have an exhaustive bubble plus delta map flip away from the poor high. So like I said, when
you didn't even tell me that was the IB high. God.
I definitely did. You were fighting with the person who's DMing you about an LVN. I love, by the way, that there are people like watching this stream when then Leo's like, there's no trade here. And then someone's like hitting him up and saying, well, actually, there's a great trade. You're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't you throw up that screenshot when you can? Because there's no more perfect illustration than exactly why when I hate poor highs, and just like the OFL signal sequence here is fantastic.
Let me try to figure that out.
Yeah, why don't you just do some more technical work over there, because you haven't done enough of that this morning. But yeah, I think the kind of the point that we were hitting on, and what we've been getting at, is when these poor highs develop and hold. It's a clue. It's a clue for
Can
the
everybody
session.
see this now? I assume everybody can see this as I'm pulling this up.
Let's see.
Yeah, everybody's about to be able to see it. So yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So yes, this. So as you can see in Leo's screenshot, we'll walk through the beginning sequence first. So that gray box in the middle of the screen, that's my 5-minute high. So, right, we had that red bubble, which is bid delta exhaustion. So potential sign that that down rotation into the 5-minute high was ending. And that blue star is indicating that there's been a change, right? As that push down happened, over a certain look back period, all of the candles, all the trading in the candles was bid delta dominant, and that blue star notates where it's switching to offer dominant, right? So we're going bid selling into 5-minute high, potential exhaustive activity, now followed by the star saying now buyers are coming in and the dominant participant. So really, it's a great combination there. And as we come into the IB high, you'll see like a solid red line at the top. That's the poor high. And right as we
That's
come into
AJ's
the IB,
emotions on that line.
yeah, yes, it's red because it makes me angry. um, as we come into that spot, you'll see we have a blue bubble, which is the same thing but opposite. We have offer delta absorption. So a lot of aggressive market buying that is potentially exhaustive activity right into the poor high. And then that red star is indicating now it's switching from ask volume dominant on the way up down to bid delta dominant. So does this mean that we're now going to kind of trade down to new lows of the day? No. But it does mean that, like, we have this poor high, and as we came into it, once again, buyers ran out of gas and selling came into the market. We're still hanging up. Like, this is a fat distribution, as you can see up here. I mean, this is a screenshot, but the profile pretty much looks the same. Right, 82 to kind of 78 is the fattest part of volume. You got POC up here. I think as long as we kind of trade around 82 to 78, there's still potential for a push higher. But, if I had to say, I'd say kind of once we start selling through the mid 70s again, I mean, I personally wouldn't look for, I'm not saying I would sell it, and I'm not saying what kind of action I would take, but I'd be really cautious looking for a long, because this would be a very impressive hold from the sellers.
All right, back to my charts.
Yeah, back to Leo's chart. Back to the live charts.
Hang on.
Man, NQ is really kind of, it's a really clean distribution here. So let me ask you something, Leo.
Yes, ask away.
Say we didn't have a bit of a shitstorm from a technical perspective. When you see kind of a clean intraday range developing here in NQ, right? Do you kind of like to, I could see a scenario where you might like to kind of maybe look scalp shorts back to the middle of value.
Yeah,
from,
like trade around
kind of.
this.
Yeah, like from 90s to 80s short, and then from 20s to 10s long.
Yeah.
Is that something that you might be looking to do if you can kind of settle in here?
That's not out of the question. I would actually prefer, and this is kind of like, I don't know. I would prefer to see this IB high get taken out for a short back into the range, and then I would want to see this swing low taken out to get long.
Like a sweep first.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we do have this liquidity zone down here, but I actually want to see that get taken out, just by a couple of points, and I might start an entry there and then watch and see what happens from there.
So do you like to see the sweep because you think it's a higher probability trade, or because
Yeah, I think it's a higher
when
probability trade.
okay.
Because like, generally speaking, like this is a low, this is like up here is a high, right? That's a swing low. Here's a swing high. Just pure like price, high low.
Just real quick, ES did get a push above its IB high and clean up that poor high
Oh,
right here.
nice. There were some offers that got taken out there too. Yeah. So like in this boxed range that I have, I would prefer, if trading back, as mean reverting area, to get those highs taken out and then look for that fade. And that also corresponds with last week's high. Just popping that settlement, yesterday's close price, and then even up to, like, you could wait. Like, this is not like, oh, I'm going to short this. No, we're going to watch there, right? We're going to see what happens in order flow there. So this could be kind of just that area to look for absorption and selling to step in. And then on this, if they sweep this low, there's just not a lot there from the volume profile, just because we just pumped right out of that. And there's really no great reference point, but just like standard, rebid, reoffer. So like we have this move, and then really you're looking for, something here in this area to then bid and then get a new high. That's kind of like, how the market kind of stair steps. If we are going to, make a new high in the session from that spot, that kind of be the logical area to look for. So that's why I'm saying, somewhere here in the middle of nowhere where there's really no reference points, there's nothing really that great on the profile, to look for that trade. So yeah, that's the reason I would wait for this to get taken out. And if it doesn't, so be it.
Right. Yeah, I think I think these types of trades are definitely like kind of more your speed. You're probably right. I've actually never considered kind of the sweep being like high probability. I'll take your word for it because you have more experience with them. I like the sweep because I know that if like you do get like, either we called either a sweep or like a stop run, I like how violent the reaction can be. You know what I mean? Like that when you have that kind of established support or resistance in a range, and it gets popped or dropped, whichever way you're playing it. When it does end up reversing, it reverses hard. And I like to catch some, like, that usually leads to a bit of momentum, which is like, kind of like the activity I like to see. So I'm not necessarily in the same situations. Usually what I'm doing is I'm not like looking to kind of catch the sweep. I'll like watch it. And then if I start to see that reversal happening, I'll be late. I'll let the reversal start to play out, and I'll catch kind of like the backside of it. So I will not get as much out of that trade, but I know that like generally speaking, I'm kind of looking for any kind of activity intraday that can create momentum. So when I see that established support get swept and reversed, my expectation is that, we wouldn't necessarily just come back to the middle of value. It's very likely that that momentum can take us to the other side of the range. Do you kind of have the same mentality in terms of what you expect to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone's asking what time frame your chart is.
I think it's 500 volume. Let me double check. Yes, 500 volume. Somebody messaged about the code YouTube not working. Apologize about that, but it is working now. So if you wanted to, check out OFL, you can use code YouTube to sign up. It'll work on the monthly plan, so your first month would be 25% off. If you don't want to sign up, that's fine. But it's not a big deal. It's like, for watching the stream, maybe you can learn something. But we also have a freemium plan, so you can actually try out some of the tools for free. And that's on that's on our website at orderflowlabs.com. Some of the free tools include like the weekly MGI, so you can get all that automatically put on your chart without having to, figure out what's what. So you get like prior week high, low, the weekly VWAP, the prior week value area, all the really important MGI on a weekly time frame. You get the single prints, the tape reader that you see on my chart here at the bottom, all kinds of good stuff in the freemium collection. It's not just throwaway garbage. I mean, there's value in that as well.
You know what I've been noticing this week?
What have you been noticing, the noticer?
I feel like I'm seeing like areas where there are like there are large like clusters of like both offer and bid delta kind of mixed and matched in, like kind of layered in at the same spot. I feel like a lot of times you'll get, a certain range that's got like a lot of, bid delta. Like you'll see just like, for example, at least in ES at the low, like it's all bid delta. And then, typically at the high you see, all offer delta. I just feel like I've seen like spots where when we kind of like trade around it, like I guess you're getting a little bit in NQ between 680 and I would say almost down to 650, where you're getting like there's a lot of offer delta, there's a lot of bid delta, and they're kind of all mixed and matched in with each other. I don't know what to make of that, but it's kind of caught my eye, and especially like later in the session, areas that kind of get some tight consolidation. They seem to be filling like large size, both in the bid and offer, kind of in the same spot, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's kind of just we obviously there's a ton of data this week with earnings and whatnot. I'm not going to pretend to understand how the big players reposition for stuff like that, but I think it's something that I've noticed just over the last few days, and the only thing that I can think of that's happening differently. Well, there's also the election next week. So maybe that has something to do with it too. I don't know what to make of it. Just something I've noticed.
Yeah, for sure. Sashi says, I'm interested, but I do not see any alerts or indication on the chart where it tells me to go long or short. Could somebody explain? Yeah, we don't tell you where to go long or short. We basically just take the information from OrderFlow and tell you what's happening from an order flow standpoint. There's a few things, for example, that will have like more of an execution style look to it. So like if you look down here at this low, that's one of our tools called the Dominator, and that's looking at it's observing the time and sales activity, which you see on the right side of my screen, and running that through tons of lookbacks and doing some analysis and telling us when we've hit an extreme point. And then there's a few spots here where you'll see some exhaustive type of bubbles. Those tell you a little bit about what's happening. And then we haven't really had any yet, but you'll see some spots where we'll transition from extreme sell delta to positive delta, and so you'll see like a star flip there. So that's a delta flip, and then everything else is not really buy or sell. It's giving you context of what's happening behind the screens, behind the scenes. And so that's what this zone is here. That's a liquidity zone. So if I go to, let's see if I can pull up my footprint chart. All right. Let's see. Can you guys cannot see that? Attach. So if I go to this footprint chart here, I can look at why this area was drawn on my execution chart, and we can see that we have this negative delta in here that didn't go down. Like, so selling pressure that didn't get a move, for that sell. And so once it pushes away from there, then it's going to draw this as an area of interest for later on when we get back there. So lots of tools to help understand context within what's happening with order flow, but nothing that is going to tell you where to buy and sell. That's not what we're about. If you're looking for that type of tool, good luck.
I mean, you can find them, but they're probably not very good.
Yeah, I know there's lots of tools out there that have fancy charts that just say buy here, sell here. And, if it was that great, I don't think people, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday for the new podcast we were recording, and I think what's cool about order flow is that there's certain, automated activity that could be painted on your chart, which is kind of what Leo's talking about with some of these tools. But really, it's order flow is just one part of the bigger picture, a bigger picture, not the big picture, like a bigger picture. So you see activity have a certain OFL kind of paints on your chart one of its tools. It's simply telling you that certain activity is happening there, and then you need to kind of weave in like, all right, so do I care about that activity happening there specifically from a structural point? Like, what does the volume profile look like? Is there important MGI nearby? Is what's happened so far in the day give that tool firing like more meaning? And I know that seems like it's maybe a lot to think about, but when you're watching the market, these are thoughts that should always be kind of going on in your head. So you should already be cognizant of the structure and be cognizant of what's happening. And in real time, it's like you kind of have an idea of where you'd like to trade and what's happening. And then you see that signal paint, and you don't even have to think about what the signal means because you're already kind of, clued into the market. So I think that's kind of why the tools are cool. It just removes one like kind of process from your head. If you don't have to stare at the DOM and the tape, these are all signals, right? Like all the dominator, delta map, EAD. These are all signals that were created by people that observed certain things happening on the DOM in time of sales, and they sought the ability to automate them, like Leo, Job, Cap. They're all these are all trader identified sequences, and so I think it just makes everything easier for people that maybe don't have either the time or the ability to interpret order flow with pure discretion like we do on the DOM and tape. Speaking of the DOM, Leo, did you have anything you wanted to get into on that today?
Yeah, generally speaking, I think that it's not a mysterious tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just a representation. I mean, it's where everybody who participates in the market, in that specific market, goes to interact. You may look at the ladder and go, hey, there's 5 on the bid and I'm going to sell 5 lots, and you sell market or you just hit the bid. Or you may go, I'm going to buy 5 lots, so I'm just going to sit on the bid with those 5 lots and just wait for somebody to sell into me.
It can't be that simple, surely.
Right. So what I think is happening with some order flow people that are looking for order flow is that they're taking a tool like the DOM and misappropriating it to and using it places where it shouldn't be used. So for example, I've got a DOM in the center of my screen, I've got a time and sales, and then right next to that I have delta based on transacted, what's transacted on the bid and offer, right? So that's telling you the difference between offer and bid delta, or bid offer volume and bid volume at that specific price. The time to be clued into what's happening on the DOM is at the price or at the area or zone or wherever you are going to execute or you're looking to execute a transaction. And that would be, you're looking to get long, you're looking to get short. Otherwise, you can definitely watch the DOM and watch every tick and watch, every bid and offer and the pull stack and all that stuff and every tick. But if you do that, you're going to exhaust yourself. When you put a trade on, utilizing the DOM as your execution tool, along with, like if you're using OFL, you're using those tools together to help you aid you in that process of getting into that trade you're going to take. And then if you're going to add to the position, that's another spot where you could clue into the DOM. And then you should have your targets, based on your risk factors, your, stop. Obviously you need a good risk to reward ratio. So your targets should be really predefined or already in mind before you've gotten into that trade. You need to have a general awareness of where you're looking for this trade to go, and none of that has anything to do with the DOM. You can get into a trade based on the DOM activity, and if you stare at the DOM every tick and every little movement and every little jiggle, you're definitely going to scare yourself out of your trade 100% of the time. So my advice is use the DOM for what it's intended for. It's not nothing on the DOM is going to tell you that price is going to go from 20,600 to 20,800. It's not going to tell you that price is going to move 200 points. What's going to, nothing's going to predict that type of activity. What it can help you with is improving your entry such that if you're going to get in at that area, it tells you what's happening right there at that moment. And so when you get to 20,600 and you see a bid absorption, lots of negative delta, you see refreshing of the bid, and then you say you enter a small position, and then you see, all the offers pull off right on the pull stack. Maybe you add to that position and now you're in your trade. There's no reason really to really care much more about the DOM, because now at that point you're managing a trade that you're in, and you should be looking for, letting your targets come, unless something significant changes with what's going on, let your trade play out and don't necessarily worry about every little, wiggle and whatnot that happens on the DOM.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, if you think about it, like when you're looking at the DOM, right? What matters in real time? In the case of ES, you can see what's happening. You can see all up and down the ladder, but realistically, you're paying attention to what's happening. I don't know, 8 ticks above best price on the offer, 8 ticks below best price on the bid, because that's what you'll see from the pulling and stacking standpoint. And realistically, even like a big market, order sweep is really only going to get pat like 4 to 6 ticks up or down. So the DOM is like real time. And so it's only giving you information to what's happening like on the ladder in that moment. And it changes moment to moment. So trying to make predictions, 3, 4, 5 rotations out based on what's happening on the current ladder is not necessarily, it's not possible. I think, in my opinion, from looking at the DOM. I'm sure you obviously agree.
Yeah.
And I think something that you kind of hit on that I see a lot of people, I think a lot of people have built this bad habit from the DOM. When you're looking at it, there's always a reason, like if like right now, like just pick any moment in time, right? Like let's say you want to be long right now. You could always see a reason to be long, and you can always see a reason to not be long, right? You can always see like you can
You'd
always
see
see the
both
other
sides.
side. You see both sides simultaneously at every moment of the day. So I know that there are a lot of people who are maybe newer to the DOM or they're trying to learn it, and they'll like not necessarily be staring at the DOM when they're planning a trade. Maybe they're looking at their chart or their volume profile or a signal, right? And they think about this plan ahead of time. They're like, all right, like based on what's happened here, I'm gonna do X if we trade Y price, and I'm gonna hope that I get an OFL signal, and then I'm gonna get in, right? And here's where my stop's gonna be, and here's where my targets are gonna be. Just a really well thought out idea, right? It plays out exactly how they want it to. They get in, and the first thing they do is now they look at the DOM, and immediately they get uncertain because the second that they stop, like the second that they're in their position and they start looking at the DOM, they start to see the other side, right? And it happens all the time. It's like, oh, like I got in.
Hey, while
And
you're
then I
talking,
look
I'm gonna try a short here, and the reason for it is we have this low we pushed up, and I may be immediately wrong. That's fine, but there's quite a bit of offer delta here and at the volume point of control. So I'm just kind of curious to see. I'll add to this trade if it starts to work. But I think this is a decent shot. I think I'm a little late since we've been just kind of ranting about the DOM, but this is a trade I might take intraday, like in that rotational mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But keep going.
Sure. So, what I was saying is that basically people have these well thought out ideas and trades based on structure, what they're looking at the chart when they can be objective. And then they hop into a position and start looking at the DOM, and they immediately kind of lose confidence and lose their conviction because, like we just said, on the DOM, you're going to see both sides simultaneously at once. So I think that a well thought out idea, if you're an aspiring DOM reader or DOM trader, if you're not really comfortable with it yet, the worst thing you could do is get in a position with a well thought out idea, and then you just pike it immediately because you don't like what's happening on the DOM. I almost never, like the percentage of time where I really like what's happening on the DOM is maybe like 5% max every day. Like that's the only like the amount of time that I'm in a position and everything on the DOM looks perfect for me. It's so few and far between that it's simply not worth. If you have a great idea and everything's lining up from structure, direction, date type, signal, all of it, don't necessarily let the DOM scare you out of that because there's always going to be someone, if there was no one taking the other side of your trade, you wouldn't get filled, right? There has to, the whole concept of that at any given point in time and at any price, there's someone looking to trade in the opposite direction of you are, that's just how markets exist. You can't, if nobody wanted to short where you would get long, how are you going to get filled? So just don't let, are there sometimes clues in the DOM that your trade, might end up being wrong? Sure. But you can't let that necessarily scare you out of every position. So I think that's just like something, I think it's along the lines of what you're getting at. And it's just something that drives me nuts in particular because I think a lot of people who could be really good traders, um, it ends up working to their detriment if they don't react to it appropriately. I would say most of my trades that I take, I can see the other side, right? There's always someone on the other side, and you just have to, trust that everything that caused you to take action up to that point is enough to bring your trade, and just, pick your targets, put your stop where you need it to be, and let the market prove you right or wrong. But I'll let Leo.
Someone asked
Leo take position.
where I would take profit on
Yeah.
this, and I don't think I'm going to get to because it's likely I'm about to get stopped out. But I would look for this OR mid or overnight low first, and then the second piece would be the OR, the low of this opening range. Looks like ES is really holding that prior day high, so ES's resistance was the single prints has now become a little bit of support, so it's probably holding up both markets. Well, obviously it's holding up ES, but NQ is going to follow.
Yeah. ES NQ's kind of NQ's been ES has been partying a little bit more than NQ so
I just
far
got
today.
stopped out.
Yeah.
So
ES is leading the way. There is a bunch of absorption up here in the kind of 55, 85s, 86s.
yeah, I see it. It's for ES. I don't know. Is it good? Is that a lot of delta? I'm not.
There's I would say a lot of deltas probably when we get close to like the 1500 plus range. But I would say in this top,
Trying this trade again.
like, yeah, 87 to 85, you've definitely got a couple thousand lots on all positive offer delta here.
Yeah.
And I think something that it's not quite at ATR, but it's not far. It wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get more expansion today. But I'm not going to try and predict that. Let's catch up on the chat. Yes, rebouncing previous day high. NQ is not melting. There's time. There's still time. AJ, I'm describing an example of apophenia, which is rampant in finance and trading. That is a word I'm not familiar with.
Are we going to have a moment of Google?
Oh, I'm Googling it. Apophenia is the propensity to mistakenly detect patterns or connections between unrelated events, objects, or occurrences. Oof. Hit me right in the feels with that one. That's definitely something common in
And
this,
you, when if
ahead.
you combine that with the recency bias that so many traders have, oh boy.
Yep. Yes. Yes, that's not it's a killer combination.
We've had people email us before and say, "Can you send me a screenshot of your indicators?" Indicators, terrible word for what we do, but they'll say, "Can you send me a screenshot of your indicators for today?" And I'm just thinking like, "Oh, so like one day everything looks great and you're gonna sign up?" Okay.
Just show them your best day.
Yeah.
That's it.
Maybe that's not the I don't know. That's not the best approach.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 24 VWAP.
Yep. Epiphania, or I'm not sure if it's epiphania or epiphenia, but then
See
recency
how we
bias,
keep
confirmation bias.
bidding right here, like on this little microstructure. I want to see that taken out before I take any off. But I'm kind of itching to take a little bit.
Yes, this really has an opportunity here to push that previous day high. Looks like it's going to go for it.
There we go. I'm just gonna let it take 2 right here on this LVN, right at the edge of it. I'm kind of getting in ahead of that OR mid, but I put 4 on this time instead of 2 because I was more confident in the location. All right, nice.
I think yes is going to get a nice another couple points down to that 79.
So then I would wait, look for this OR to trade the OR mid, and then look for that OR low. So that's kind of how I would structure this, and then just bring my stop in. I'm not necessarily looking to add to this trade if it comes back, just because of the balance day. We're in the middle of the profile at this point, in the middle of the session, so it could easily just come, right somewhere in here and just rotate back up. So no real reason to re-enter, no great reason to add for momentum. Just because like on this day type, we're fading the edges, looking to trade back into the middle of the range, and that's kind of already happened. So there's really no great momentum spot. You don't want to add to this trade and then all of a sudden your average entry is somewhere in here, and then you have to make a bunch of weird decisions about what to do.
I think that the momentum spot in Q is if we not only sweep that low, what I can see what price it is, that LVN 610. If we not only sweep it, we start building below it.
Right.
That would be that I could see bring in momentum, because now you have all of this basically value for the day would be the volume would be kind of offsides, so to speak.
Right.
So that momentum trade for you is probably almost like a whole other sequence at that point. So someone asked, can we speak again how we use relative volume? Haven't been able to find a good indicator for it on TradingView. You want me to take this since you're...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So relative volume, got to give him credit. One of the rare times Leo has brought something valuable to my attention. Just kidding. So basically, relative volume. He actually wrote a blog about it, which I believe it's on the OFL website, right? If
Yes.
someone wanted to look at that,
Yep.
So you can look at his blog, breaking it down on OFL's website. But essentially, it's basically how he, myself, and a lot of the traders that we talk to kind of measure participation, right? So relative volume is going to look at how much volume we have in the current session and compare it to, X amount of sessions over a certain look back period. So I think you're using 5 or 10 is your look back period for
10,
relative volume?
10 days.
Leo? So,
Yep.
so Leo is looking at relative like the volume for every day over the last 10 days. And the relative volume is going to give you what's basically a percentage, saying based on the last 10 days, the average volume is this, and today's volume is only doing this percentage of it. So what is your relative volume today, Leo?
It's 105.
Okay, so at 105, that means that the current session's volume is a bit higher than it has been over the last 10 sessions. And for example, if the number was like 70, that would mean that the volume for today's session is quite a bit lower than the volume for the last couple sessions. Leo is measuring it looking at the full 24-hour session. So meaning that he's also taking into consideration Globex volume, right? So I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're doing basically is the first kind of clue for you to set expectations for what you expect from a participation level. You're looking at the reading pre-market, saying, okay, Globex has either high or low or normal RVol, and I can make execution-based adjustments based on that number, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's violence in Globex, I expect there to be violence in RTH.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, so he's using the reading that he gets pre-market to kind of make decisions for RTH. And would you say that you kind of monitor it throughout the session to see how it's changing, or is it more like you kind of go with your reading pre-market and that's gonna guide you?
I'll glance at it a few times during the session just to see how it's changed from the morning read, like if it's going up or going down, because that's great information to be aware of.
Right.
But I'm not
So
like
that's not
I'm not obsessing about like every 5 minutes. Is it is more volume coming in? Is more?
all right. So on that note, Leo basically just made fun of what I'm doing now. Um, so I'm starting to. I've over the last like couple weeks, I've started to look at relative volume in a different way. I'm only looking at the RTH sessions. Um, the reason I did that is because um, I felt like some of the Globex sessions were telling lies to me, to put it simply. Like we would have like really decent Globex volume, and then it would kind of die off in RTH. So a couple times and this is not relative volume's fault. Like this is just me. This is like a problem I have. I kind of found myself probably being a little bit too active in the first 15 or 20 minutes, and so I'm looking at relative volume in RTH only, which means that I have to really wait 15 minutes after the session opens because there's no pre-market reading for me because obviously I'm not looking at Globex volume, so there's nothing to look at. And I've got to give the market a few minutes because um the numbers go jumping up and down very quickly off the open because volumes, coming into the market for the first time. It's like the first few measurements. I don't think either's wrong. I think, to Leo's point, he kind of looks at the number pre-market, he glances at it throughout the day, where I have to pay a little bit more attention to it, and especially in a period, to see how it's changing. Leo's trade looks like it's working out pretty good right here. Is there anything you want to talk about before I keep ranting about relative volume?
No, I'm just kind of itching to take one of these off because there's a little bit of buying that's trying to come in, but we're still going down. So I'm just watching this with intensity.
Yeah, Leo's locked in.
I'm locked in.
There's something about when I was last week when I think I caught like a really nice short. There's something about there's like a level of focus that it requires when you're on stream.
I'm front running my OR mid just a hair. Like I'm trying to get a good fill here, but okay.
Yes.
Lock it in.
Nice trade, man.
Thanks.
Even more impressive considering all the technical work you had to do for the first 45 minutes.
Man, it's been whew.
You earned that one. But yeah, that's how we use relative volume. You could use it. Let's see, even if our vol is measured in the same period. All right.
Here's what if there's a quant out there listening, I know they're not, but if you have quant skills, I want to talk to you because I want to do a linear regression analysis on the first 30-minute volume and put those in buckets, low, medium, high, or something like that. And then does the first 30-minute volume, like just total volume, can that predict the range for the session? Like not the range, but is there a positive correlation to and I think the answer is yes, but I just I want to look at this, but this is not breaking stuff. But if there's tons of volume in the first 30 minutes, does that correlate to a more active session with larger ranges? So if you have like those skills, let me know.
Mm-hmm. Leo's always looking for nerds.
Ask ChatGPT sucks. Sorry.
Let's see what else we got here.
Pre-market volume is going to be low Even if RVOL is measuring in the same period, do you think? Yeah. So the way that Sierra calculates relative volume is it's always relative to that time period. So yes, it account because of the way it does that. It accounts for the fact that Globex is always has lower volume. And so, for example, like if the average 10-day Globex volume is 200 contracts or 200,000 contracts, or I don't even know, like they trade like 7,000 or 10,000 contracts. I'm not really sure, but whatever the Globex volume is, that's that ratio, right? So if all of a sudden there's a Globex with 300,000 when the average is 200,000, then that's where you get the difference in read. So basically, the idea is, um, that that RVOL is going to be representative of the time frame that you're trading. Am I trading on SIM or a personal or a funded? No, I'm trading a funded account. I'm not going to trade SIM. I'm not going to trade a live account either. If you can come and trade a live account on stream, and that's great. More power to you. I'm not going to. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not trying to show you guys like, oh, look at me, I'm making $10,000. No, I'm trading micros on a sim funded account just to give a display of what what kind of how I trade and what I'm looking for. So yeah, it's sim funded. Just to tweet out your theory as if it was fact, like a true guru. I could, but I want to run a true analysis on that. I know how to run an aggression if you have the data. Okay, I will hit you up, Lynch. I'm only asking because I heard. Yeah, it's very hard to trade live. It's on stream. Like I don't know, AJ, would you ever trade live on stream? Like your
Absolutely
live personal
not.
account?
No shot.
I talked to
I
Crudelli the other day, and he basically saying the same. Like, imagine being down $5,000 in your personal account, and you're like having to deal with the comments and all that good stuff.
so you know that the meme of the kid, where he's sitting at his desk and he's like really like tense. It's like he's got blonde hair and he looks like he's about to pop a blood vessel.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel when I'm in a trade on YouTube. I'm trying to will the trade into profitability with my mind. And
Been there.
it's very stressful. Leo, what made you get in short?
Are you asking me, or was that a comment?
No, that was a comment.
Oh, yeah. So I pointed out earlier. I think we've adjusted the leg. The leg has adjusted, but there was a ton of absorption up here in that spot, and like if you look at it, there's just all these highs, and so really just kind of a read from not only price action. We're at the top of value. We have a kind of a balanced day, with the exception of this leg below, or this wick, I guess, and that the absorption here on the delta profile. And so once the selling started to kick in, I got in, I got stopped out, and then we popped it, basically took my stop and started to sell again. So I just got back in.
We trade on vibes, colors, and shapes here at OFL. That's too real.
Oh, Norseman. For
Yeah,
real.
you saw an FX guy tilt on live, dude. I can see it, but it's funny. It's like we do the voice session Tuesdays. That we did one yesterday morning too. In a way, I do like, I won't lie that it does that. I say when I'm like calling out a trade, or when I'm when I'm on live, like it definitely has an impact. But for me, the impact is like extra caution, right? So, but I could also see the wheels falling off. Like it's definitely always. I mean, the wheels could always fall off for any of us any given moment, even just privately. Um, but yeah, I think it's a tough game.
Did you draw a box on the absorption? Yes, I did. Did you have a quick button display? Yeah. So, well, right. I just right click. I have the extended draw tool just in the right click menu, but I also have that as a button up here on the control bar, so you can set a custom control bar button to draw that. It does see Sierra does get easier. You just have to make it that way.
I think it's not that, you know what it is. Sierra's not. There's just so much functionality, and all of the documentation is written out. And I think that's like, if you take the time to, like, if you want to learn how to do something, and you just sit down and read the written out documentation, all the information is there. But I mean, I get it. Like, a lot of people want it to be like easier, or to like have a YouTube video kind of walking them through everything. And they're not about that life, Sierra chart. But I mean, I'm someone that's, I would not say that, I mean, I'm obviously competent from a computer perspective, but you know, even something that was always super intimidating to me was the, like, writing custom alert conditions in Sierra chart. And I spent like, there's something when I was making the tape reader, right? I wanted to use it really badly, but you know, I recognized if I was going to figure it out, I just needed to dive into those alert conditions, like, and just like dig into it. It
Dude,
took
you
like
just
4 or 5.
spilled the beans.
Did I?
Yeah.
What beans did
You
I
were
spill?
the mind master behind the tape reader.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I did spill those
obviously,
beans.
I helped you significantly, but
Of
it was
course,
your
of
idea.
course, of course. It's always it's definitely, I definitely could have done it by myself. But yes, so the alert conditions is what I was using to kind of set it up, and I had no, like, I guess that's what, like, is that like basic syntax, or not even? Is that what the language is, or if that's just like how you're structuring the alerts? Anyway, all of it was there in Sierra chart, and it was super intimidating. But like after you get into it, it's actually pretty straightforward if you just read the documentation. Um, so is it intimidating? Yes, but it's all there. Everything that you could possibly want to know is there. In fact, taking it a step further, if you have a very specific question, you could just ask it in Google and just put the word Sierra chart at the end, and 90% of the time someone else has asked the question and the answer's already there.
Yeah.
So that's a cool tip for anyone that's struggling with a Sierra chart problem. Um, just just Google it first. Someone else has been there, most likely.
You know, I'm really digging the volume profile setup that I have on this chart. We just added this ability to put another, like, a different profile from a different time frame on the left side. So this is actually the Globex volume profile that's on the left side over here, and then this is RTH. So it's kind of cool to be able to see the comparison and how that prior day close was a major LVN from this overnight distribution. Not to change the subject, but
Mm-hmm.
dude, I'm like
Yeah.
itching to take off this trade right now because I don't, like, we're getting there was decent absorption down here at a logical point. VWAP overnight low.
Question here that I'm going to throw it out there because I know it could possibly get you wound up.
Oh
Do we
boy.
use stops on every trade?
Yes.
What about the fact that stops are negative expected value, Leo?
Sounds like a quant would say that.
Yeah, we use stops. We use stops in every trade. Um, I simply, I can't imagine not doing so. If I, at this point, like, I would say generally I'm trying to keep my stop a little bit wider, with the mindset that I'm gonna cut it probably before I get stopped out. Like, I'll cut it manually. But I can't imagine just going in there, just like, going into the market like basically, I want to say something that's probably not appropriate. I'm trying to figure out a different way to phrase it. Um, I cannot imagine going into the market exposed like that. I feel exposed when I don't have a stop because I feel like price can, we get like, if there's like a news event or, whatever, like we just get a liquidation break or a short squeeze out of nowhere. Um, if the market moves through where my mental stop would be too quickly and I don't have time, like I don't react, and now I'm off sides with no stop. Let's just say I did it at the beginning of my career and I panic and do not act correctly. So the stop is there for me to like be forced if like I put it in a spot like a logical area that where I feel like if my idea's wrong, that stop's going to get hit. And just being stopped out, negative expected value or not, there's positive expected value because it forces me to objectively reassess the situation. I mean, there are like so many times where I get stopped out of a trade and almost immediately re-enter because I get stopped out. Okay, I'm flat. Let's like look at this market again with kind of clear eyes and objectivity and no bias based on position. Like, do I want to get back in? Which is totally fine. So yeah, like the stop out is not like, I don't know. Do I love getting stopped out? I wouldn't say I loved it. I wouldn't say I love it, but I don't mind it. It doesn't like affect me in a negative way. And in fact, it helps me because it forces me to reassess what's happening with a clear head. There's always, I mean, if I'm long biased. If I'm short, I'm short biased, at least for
I
the
wonder
moment.
why.
Yeah, like if I'm long, I see everything is viewed through the lens of my position. So a stop out forces me to reassess without a position, which is I think a good and healthy exercise for me. But I have no problem like getting back in. I have no problem just being stopped out and just being done. Like if I get stopped out and I don't like what I see, and then it just so happens that that was a stop run. I mean, I'm not jumping for joy, but at least the risk management on that trade, like in the event that it wasn't a stop run and I just got underwater, that would have hurt a lot more.
I think we just got us some fuel to push this move to the
I
downside a
mean,
little more.
ES looks like it wants to go
Yeah.
to test the 60s, in my opinion. Nice little another 5 minute high look.
So we had this little. See how
Maybe.
we had this buying coming in. There was absorption, like still bid absorption right now, but they pushed up a little bit into 52s, and you see that buy side absorption there, and price is going against.
Hmm.
So there's tons of offer liquidity right around this area. I'm just hoping that holds us lower, and they keep pushing up against it, and it keeps getting offered. So I think we just, we'll see what happens. But if we get below 40s, I think my target will be good. Hopefully, I love that we're just like hanging out right in the middle of the OR.
Who doesn't love that?
So love that for me.
Yeah, someone asked if the volume profile is that the Globex volume profile on the left or 24-hour volume profile?
It's just the Globex profile. You could do the 24-hour though if you wanted. You could do weekly, monthly, quarterly, any time frame you want. You could do multiples. Starting to get into this little LVN here, 56.
I'll just speak for Leo because I think I know where his head's at. I think you don't use limit orders very often, right, Leo?
No.
Yeah, I think Leo's got that limit order there so that everyone can see his target, and he'll be happy to cut that anywhere around the 5 minute high, or as soon as he sees any kind of order flow activity that would, you know, he's not going to necessarily, he doesn't need that tick, that price to trade,
Yeah.
but he wants everyone to see where he's looking to get filled,
My
generally speaking.
optimal area for exit is down there, but it looks like that absorption on the bid side is starting to kind of win. I don't know that I'm feeling super pumped about everything. I mean, the buying coming in is strong. Tape reader, all the bids are stacked. I mean, they had that little chance to push it, and then the bid side just absorbed even more.
I don't know what this is going to correspond to with NQ,
Yes, it's
but
right on top of its VPOC, right?
it's right on top of its VPOC. But I mean, even if it came a bit higher, you're coming back in to test that 83, which is a fat LVN,
Oh, right. I see it.
it's like the IB high and previous day high. So I mean, I could certainly see a situation where we come up a little higher and then we offer 83, 82, and then that's what really brings us back down. But I don't know. I don't know where you would be in NQ land in order, for that to happen.
I'm just gonna let this play out. I mean, the nice thing about not trading a live account while on stream is that I don't necessarily need to worry that much about where this goes because it is, a sim funded account, so it's not like I need to, another topic for another day is putting every trade that you take in a vacuum and trying to perfect every single trade. You're not going to be able to do that. But like we're just trying to talk through some of the mechanics and not focus on like every single piece. We just rejected the VWAP from this anchored high.
Mm. One couple questions that came in. Someone asked, said Sierra already has a volume profile feature. What makes yours any different? We'll do that one first.
There's a lot. One of them is the delta component. So you can see on this delta profile here that you can actually color the bars differently when you're below your threshold value. So for example, in Sierra, you can have it look like this, where you're showing every single delta price. And I know that you can remove the text value with their threshold, but you can't change the volume bar color. And so by being able to do that, you can filter on those smaller prints. So this is with 50 delta. So anything above 50 gets its associated red or blue volume bar with the text. Anything below that, you can control what color that print. So like right now I have it set to like pretty dark. It's close to my background color, but I could change it, to whatever I want. And so the nice thing about that is that it allows me visually to spot those higher deltas and kind of eliminate some of that noise. So that's one. The second thing is, I know you can't see my screen, but you could anchor to a swing high, a swing low, any rotation amount. So leg to leg is automatic. You can do time-based, and those are automatically selected for, like, you could select, I want the RTH plus Globex, I want 24, like a full 24 hour, I want just RTH, I want to do one from the weekly open, the monthly open, the quarterly open. It's much easier to navigate than the Sierra one and trying to figure that out because we've done all the math in the background. And then you have rolling, you could do a rolling basis. So, based on rolling time. I know Sierra has that. Ours is done to trading days. So I think ours is it's a little easier to configure. And then there's some additional features like you could anchor it to a subgraph. So if you have like a thing that prints, at a specific time and price, you could anchor it to that automatically. So for example, OFL has like an EAD or a dominator, something that would print like from like this dominator, you could anchor a volume profile to this print and watch volume build on any subgraph that anchors to a time and price. And then another thing is that you can overlay volume profiles from other charts to other charts. And so that would come into play when, like if you had a monthly profile on a higher time frame chart or a weekly profile on a higher time frame chart, you could actually drop that into your execution chart, like on the left side, and be able to see where you are on that weekly time frame on the volume profile without having to switch pages or switch charts or anything like that. So a lot of flexibility. Um, Being able to add it to the DOM is nice. I know that the CR1 can do that, but you can also do tick compression on the DOM itself. So I could compress, the delta bars on the DOM, and have a little more control over that too. So, and you can see on the DOM, this volume profile actually does, have the filtering turned on here. So this is I think anything over 15 watts is going to show up. Anything below that is not. So those delta areas, those high delta areas really stand out much more, just with that feature alone. Does the anchored view up on the leg to leg profile play a role in any of your setups? Yeah, I will use this. Like if I was trading live, like, just by myself, I would probably add to this trade on these leg to leg, on these anchored view up touches for sure. Because it's like that's a great reoffer spot. I'll also use it for take profits when, like, say we have like an anchored view up from a high, and I've found like a long against that leg to leg, and I may use that view up as a target for a take profit. But I'll try to use that to trade in line. So as long as, like, if I'm trading in the direction, I'll use that view up as a spot for ads, for continuation ads. I'm not super interested in continuation, like momentum continuation ads today, just because like it's balanced. So I'd be adding in the middle of a range, and we can see we've been chopping around here forever. But I will use it for that as a piece of context.
Someone says Leo is going to hate this, but AJ, are cumulative delta divergences ever in your playbook?
I'll answer this for AJ. No.
No. Leo, I think Leo is offended by cumulative delta. I'm not necessarily offended by it, but I don't use it. We know someone.
I'm not offended by it. I don't.
You're a little offended by it.
I'm not. I think it. No, I don't.
I'm
not offended by it.
5% offense. I mean, you know that you're offended by it when someone already knows that you're going to hate it before asking the question.
That's that's telling you more about them than it is me.
I agree with them. I also thought you were going to hate the question. I think you're in denial here. But yeah, no, it's not really in my playbook. I don't use it, but that doesn't mean you can't. Clearly no trailing.
Dude, it's a micro. This is a micro. We're trading micros. It's not to say, look, I made $20,000. It's just at least, it's not sim. I have something to risk, but it's not like we're not here to say don't follow my trades, but let's talk about the logistics getting into a trade.
Yeah. How can I display lines along with the arrows when viewing my trades on a chart? Currently, I only see arrows but no lines. I'm not sure.
I don't turn on OBS, just disconnected.
Oh, is he talking about his fills?
Yeah, the order trade fills.
Yeah, I think it's the global setting.
Yeah, OBS disconnected for a second, but I think we're back.
So if you go to global settings, and then hold on, I just had it.
And by the way, while AJ's looking for this, I've not seen one person hit like or anything. Like,
Wow.
this is really disappointing, and I'm not even sure we're going to come back.
Okay. So it's all right. So it's not. It's under trades, the trade settings menu, and then chart
There's
trade
zero likes
settings.
on this. There's zero likes on this live. I mean, click a
That's
button,
rude. That's rude. That's rude.
literally.
So yeah, trade settings, chart trade settings, and there's an order fills tab, and you can kind of play with some of that stuff there. And then the actual graphics for it are set in the graphics setting situation. Um, yeah, I know Leo talked. He had some feelings about it on the podcast. I was there.
I'm glad that you disliked it. Thank you. I would dislike it too. There's 7 likes. Yes.
Could you speak roughly about how you'd size appropriately with your trading style and on your SimPA account, but i.e. with a 5K capital risk, with a 5K risk capital using average max size of XYZ, trading XYZ amount, etc., etc. So,
You want to take that?
yeah,
We need Elias for this one.
we do. I don't. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with these sim funded accounts. I think it depends on what kind of trader you are, right? Like, let's say you're a new trader, right? You're a couple months in. Maybe you're still riding the high of your first free trade and you think it's going to be easy. Well, let me just say that most likely you're going to have a rude awakening very soon. And it'll all fall apart because the first one's always free. So I would say to the new trader that's a few months in, you buy one single eval at a time. There's no reason for you to be copy trading when you're brand new. You trade one. If you want to learn how to scale in, scale out, maybe you put on 2 or 3 micros, right? That way, at least you feel like you have some skin in the game because it's an eval and you can move on to funded. So it's not totally sim. I mean, it's still a sim environment, but you're invested in one way or another because you paid the account and there's a potential for you to make money. If you're new and you're just learning how to trade, 2 to 3 micros, the best value account you could find, just trade one account. If that's not you, if you're a little bit more experienced and you're looking to trade these funded companies to try and build up starting capital for a live account, which we all think that should be the goal. And when you get to that point, if you've been at this for a while and you're utilizing these funded companies, the goal should be to build up capital to at least have a live account that would be your leader if you still wanted to trade the funded companies afterwards. But there's something important that you have to recognize. You're never going to be able to do what's, in my opinion, like appropriate risk management in the funded account. Or if you do, it's going to be really slow. So like, what do I mean? All right, let's say you have 5K. In this example, you have 5K of risk capital, which is like, that's usually like what, a 150K account? Even if you're risking, let's say, where's my calculator? Even if you're risking just $200 a trade on 5K of risk, so you're going to be risking 4.4%, 4% per trade, right? Like on $200 risk in a 5K account, that's 4% of your total account per trade. I would say you're over risking at that point from a pure risk management standpoint. However, that's kind of the game that you're playing the trade-off is you've got this really, really cheap capital, right, in the form of these funded companies that you pay anywhere from 20 to
Just real
100 or
quick,
something dollars.
I'm just going to assume that I'm going to get stopped out, so I'm going to take myself out of this trade because we're definitely bouncing. So,
Boo. Just kidding. Everyone gets short. Just kidding. So yeah, if you're going to trade these funded account companies to try and acquire capital for a live account, you kind of have to accept that you're going to be a little over leveraged Because even let's say you cut that in half. Let's say you're risking $100 per trade on a 5K account. That's 2%. That's still 2% of your entire drawdown per trade, which is a lot, right? I think what's the rule of thumb, generally speaking, like somewhere between like a half percent per trade or something like that for your total account? Would you say is what people say? Is that like a good rule of thumb?
Yeah. What did you say? What,
I'm
half your
saying,
account?
okay, what? All right, no, yeah, risk half your account per trade. No, I'm saying that if you were trading, like, let's say you had a 100K personal live account, what do people
Oh,
do? What's the rule of thumb of like risk per trade? Like it's like half
two
a percent or
two
something like that
percent. I think
per
like
trade.
just like I think Kelly, would suggest like 2%, but a lot of people use half Kelly, so maybe 1%.
Okay,
Some
so
people even
like,
use like quarter Kelly, so it'd be like a
right,
half a percent. Yeah.
right. That's what I'm getting at. So like, a lot of people recommend as low as 1 to like a half percent. So if you wanted to do that, right? What is that? It says 0.005 times 5,000. That's like $25 per trade. And I'm not saying that's not the right way to do it, but like, is that like if you want to be risking a half a percent per trade, which is what a lot of people would say conservative risk management, 5K risk is not going to get you very far. So I think I don't want to encourage this, but I mean, this is what I do. I'll just tell you what I do. You're all adults here, hopefully. You got to make your own decision. I just accept that I'm going to be over leveraged in these funding trading accounts, and that's the trade off for trading them. You know, I'm paying a very, very discounted rate for the risk, and I know I'm going to be over leveraged. And I know that my goal in mind is to, one day not have to use them anymore. And so that's kind of my mindset. Um, I don't know if I answered your question, whoever asked that. I guess in a roundabout way, really what I'm saying is unless you really want to go very, very, very slow, which is totally fine, you're going to be oversized. And you kind of just have to figure out, like, let's say if you're a high win rate trader, maybe you can get away with, it's easier for you to manage these accounts. But if you're someone that's like a low win rate trader, like you have to consider, like, if you're a low win rate trader, you can't be risking 10-20% of your account on one trade because the likelihood that you're going to have consecutive losses is higher, right? There's that table. Is that table still on OFL? But there's basically a table that like, you can
Yes.
look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a table that you can see
Does
based
math
on
make
your
you a better trader? Something like that.
yes. There's something on OFL where you can look at based on your win rate what the likelihood is of a certain number of consecutive losses. And even traders with like a 60% win rate, I don't know, I'm just like going off the top of my head, even a 60% win rate, you have a very high probability of 5 or even maybe even more consecutive losses. So when you're planning your risk for a funded account, you have to consider, what's the drawdown based on the win rate of my trading? How likely is it for me to get a certain number of consecutive losses, and kind of back out from there, like based on those numbers. You have to do a little bit of, basic arithmetic to figure it out. 5K count, I have a 60% win rate. There's a 30% chance that I have like 7 or more consecutive losses. Then you've got to kind of back out from there, like what's right for you. But I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't just like pick a number and just like go for it. You have to look at your stats, and how much drawdown you're getting, and kind of make an educated decision.
I hope I didn't screw up my chart. I was just trying something new here.
No, I wasn't even looking at your chart. Let's see.
We'll see what happens.
Oh, wow. I think they just fixed the like button. Let's test it out. We are here to lever up and get paid. That's right. We are the physical embodiment of the bet more GIF, GIF guy.
We are waiting. Sierra says it's downloading continuous contract data, but I don't know. Let's watch this 30-minute time frame chart while we wait. So earlier, while AJ was talking, I had this leg to leg. I just drew these lines just to illustrate how I would use the leg to leg profile. And what's cool about this is like the composite view tied to balance area start is great. That leg to leg just gives you that kind of zoomed in look on the higher time frame. So zooming into the higher time frame, but not down to like the execution level. From this, swing high all the way down to the low that we made. And so you can see like this fat distribution node here we're more or less stuck in.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Overlord, I'm risking about like 5%, give or take. Sometimes 10 if I'm feeling frisky. But that's like, that changes as the account grows. Like in the eval phase, I'm not trying to encourage any bad behavior. I'm looking to, I don't want to sit in an eval for 3 weeks. Once I move on to the funded stage, my risk is higher at the beginning, and then I slowly walk it back once the account balance starts to, once I have some cushion.
This is what I was messing with, is that you can add a watch list to the control bar, but you can't control the symbol trade versus quote. So, like if you're going to trade micros, but you want to quote NQ, like get the NQ order flow, you have to set it up specifically in chart settings. And so I was seeing if there's a way you could flip between MNQ and NQ from a trading standpoint. And you can't. So, but oddly enough, this is the MNQ contract order flow data. So the volume profile and everything is all based on MNQ. Much higher volumes, of course. I mean, it's 1/10 the size.
Looks like your cut was a good short.
Yeah, for real.
Just had to say that because you'd give me the same treatment. I believe you have, sir, on this very stream.
So and then we go back to NQ.
Dude, everyone loves this music playlist.
I know. I'm going to have to give it out, I guess. I need to make another one because we've used the same playlist for like the last 3 episodes. All right, it's noon Central Time. It's the only time that's important because that's where the CME exchange actually resides. Anybody that says otherwise is a liar and a fraud. Did we lose AJ again?
No, everyone's on East Coast. I've just let you have your moment.
Okay.
Like it matters where the CME is located.
It does.
That building's empty.
It matters.
Like, there's no one there.
You don't think there's data centers there that are running the exchange? That's
Okay,
where the algorithm lives, AJ. It lives.
Who's the algorithm?
The algorithm.
The ghost of the machine?
Yes.
Whatever.
The algorithm lives in the exchange data servers in Chicago.
I don't live my life by where data servers exist.
Anyways, it's lunchtime, and I'm ready to bail.
Yeah, sorry for the. Thank you for, you know what, I'm proud for our viewers for sticking through here that rocky start. I think we recovered pretty decently. Um, but yeah, thanks for sticking with us on those technical issues that were totally my bad.
Yeah, because you can definitely control whether you lost power or not.
Yeah, yeah, yes. I wish I could. I did not.
All right, guys.
But thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on. We'll see you next week. And here, I got a tip before we go. Everybody's still in, so great. I'm glad everybody's still here. There's going to be some volatility in the next couple of weeks. Specifically, the next 2 weeks. We have all kinds of earnings from the big boys today, tomorrow, and then next week. What's happening, the election. I would just say expect the unexpected with price and order flow being key. Stay grounded to what you trade, and don't let your opinions or what you think implications of things, don't let that affect your judgment and how you trade. Just trade the same. Maybe size down. Maybe people, I've seen people say they're just going to take the week off. That's fine. If you're going to trade too, that's fine. Just be aware that things are likely going to be a little more, there's going to be some more movement. So, be appropriate in your risk and size, appropriately and all that good stuff. So I know we're going to be back on next Wednesday is FOMC, right? Am I right?
It?
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that it. Pretty sure.
No, you're wrong.
Oh, I am wrong.
It's Thursday.
Okay.
Wait,
so,
is it? No.
What?
Oh, yes.
When?
It's Thursday. It's Thursday.
Since when is FOMC on Thursdays?
I don't know.
Anyways, the point being, yes, picked up Bub. It's how does OFL handle election type of volatility? I would, if you're asking me what I'm going to do, I'm going to size down. I'm not going to really pay attention to any of the results or anything, or I'm not going to, no matter who wins or what happens, I'm not going to presume that I know what the market's going to do if one person wins or another person wins or whatever. I'm just going to trade the market the same way that I trade and look at it day to day, and reduce my bias such that I want to be in the direction where the market's going. That's the direction that I'm going to trade, and I'll size down based on the volatility of said market. All right, that's it. I hope you guys have a good one. Thanks for jumping on. We'll iron out our technical issues next time, and hopefully it's we don't have such a glitch in the beginning. Hope you guys have a great week and stay safe out there.